An octopus is the most intelligent of all invertebrates, and when you are making an octopus, you need to give him credit for that. That's why I added something extra for him, and it's a pirate hat. I thought it'll be helpful when going on all his voyages. The final measurements of this octopus without its hat is approximately 5 by 3.5 inches, and the pirate hat measures 3.5 by 1.8 inches. I personally love how it turned out, and let's see what you need to make one of your own. You'll need felt fabric in your color of choice and matching embroidery floss, some fiber fill for stuffing, and a thin rod to use in stuffing narrow areas. You'll also need a hand needle, a pair of scissors, pins, and a fabric marking pen. Finally, you'll need to download and print the PDF pattern. Let's start with cutting out the template pieces along the straight lines, and you'll find the link for this PDF pattern in the description. You don't have to worry about those dashed lines yet. They are just here as a guide, and I'll get to that later. Take your time when cutting around the octopus body because of all those tentacles. At the end, you will find a total of 6 different pieces for this particular pattern. As you can see with the feather template, only cut along the straight lines yet. After you have cut all the template pieces, use those to cut felt pieces, and you'll find how many you need from each piece on or near each template. Whenever you need 2 pieces from a particular template, you can keep 2 felt layers together or fold the fabric like the way I do, and then pin and place the pattern onto both layers. You can then carefully cut around the template. Make sure to use a sharp pair of scissors when cutting more than one felt layer. It will make things easier. Now remove the pin and you have 2 identical felt pieces. If that way of cutting doesn't work for you, you can simply place the pattern on top of the fabric and then outline it while holding it still. Use a fabric marking pen, and this one is a heat erasable fabric marker. You can now carefully cut around the drawn pattern. I usually include these fabric marks when cutting, so it won't be visible afterwards. Since mine is a heat erasable marker, I can get rid of these markings with a simple press. You can also place the wrong side of the pattern when outlining, and then turn around and use that side of the felt when sewing. All those markings won't be a problem then. When it comes to small pattern pieces, you can just hold the pattern to the fabric from your one hand and cut from the other. It's totally up to you, and pick any method you like to cut all the felt pieces. Now these are the felt pieces you will need to complete this octopus, and it's a total of 16 pieces. There is one more step in cutting we need to complete. Take the felt pieces for the feather and place the template piece on top of one of the feathers. Now punch a hole at the pointy end of those triangles with dashed lines. Use a fabric marking pen. This will leave a slight mark on the felt, and I'll mark it again so you can see clearly. Now make a horizontal cut from the edge to the previously marked point as shown in the template piece. Then make another cut angle to the first cut, and please refer to the template piece to get an idea. Follow the same steps for the remaining 3 triangular shapes, and you will find those in dashed lines on the template. This will cut off 4 small triangles out of the original feather shape, and after this step, you will get a nice looking feather. Do the same for the second feather as well, and there is no specific number of feathers, so you can use more feathers if you like. With that, we are all done with cutting felt pieces, and let's get into sewing. Let's start with sewing the mouth of the octopus. Take one of the body pieces and place the template piece for the body on top. Now make sure these two are aligned and using a fabric marking pen, punch holes along the mouth shape like we did with the feather. Pick a few points, especially two end points, and punch hard enough to leave a mark on felt. I have made 5 holes along the shape, and then you can remove the template piece and you'll see those points traced on the felt piece. Now carefully connect those lines in the shape of a semicircle as shown in the pattern. If you are able to just draw a semicircle on your own, please go ahead and draw one for the mouth. As we need some space in the head area for the hat, make sure to leave space for that when drawing on your own. Now it's time to sew. Thread your needle and make a knot at the end. Coming from the back of the felt fabric, sew along the mouth from one end to the other. I'm using the back stitch here, but you can use any outline stitch in embroidery. I'm using all 6 strands for this step and choose any embroidery thread color you prefer. We have a separate tutorial on how to do the back stitch in case you are interested. After you have reached the other end, turn over to the wrong side of the fabric and make a couple of knots to secure the stitch. Finally, trim the thread and let me show you how it looks from the front. Our next step is to sew eyes, starting with the 2 bigger eyes. Place the 2 eye pieces above the mouth we just sewed, and you can refer to the template for the body piece as a guide. You'll see eyes in dashed lines to help you in placing. Change your thread color if you want to, and starting with this step, I'm using only 2 embroidery strands going forward. Now start to sew those 2 pieces to the body, one eye at a time. You can use either back stitch or whip stitch for this step and sew all the way around the eyes. I'm using whip stitch here, and if you don't know how to use the whip stitch in applique, please make sure to check out our tutorial on that. I'll leave the link in the description. Once you have sewed one of the bigger eyes, move on to the other one. After you have sewed both eyes, make a couple of knots at the back to secure the stitch. You only need to do this whenever you are changing the thread color or running out of thread. Then trim the thread. Now it's time to sew 2 small eyes to the body. First, place the pieces for the small eyes on top of the larger eyes, and I'm going to place them at the center like this. Then start to sew small eyes to the body one at a time. Use either whip stitch or back stitch, and I'm using whip stitch for this step as well. Once you are done sewing both small eyes, end the stitch by making a couple of knots at the back. Finally, trim the thread. At this point, the face is all completed, and I think it's starting to look cute. Now, if you have seen an octopus, you will notice that they have a lot of spots on their body. There are a total of 6 spots in this pattern, and place all 6 spots on the body as you like. Now, this is how I'm going to place those, and feel free to use more or less spots in any part of the tentacle area as you prefer. Thread your needle with a matching embroidery thread color and make a knot at the end. As you now know where all the spots go, start to sew those spots to the body one by one. Now, instead of sewing around the spot, I'm going to make 3 to 4 straight stitches horizontally in the middle area of the spot. This will add a bit of character to our octopus, and it also will help you when sewing the two body pieces together. Whenever you sew one spot, you'll need to end the stitch at the back of the fabric by making a couple of knots and then trim the thread before you start sewing the second spot. This is because of the octopus shape and the location of the spots. It's practically difficult to continue the sewing otherwise. Do the same for all 6 spots one by one. After sewing spots, we are now ready to assemble the body. Take the decorated body piece and place that on top of the other body piece. Make sure those are aligning with each other before you start sewing. Thread your needle with a matching embroidery thread color and make a knot at the end. Insert the needle in between the 2 felt layers to hide away the knot and use whip stitch to sew 2 layers together. Even though blanket stitch is another good option for sewing 2 layers together, for this particular case, I recommend whip stitch over blanket stitch. The reason is this octopus shape has a lot of curves because of its tentacles. It won't be easier to sew those areas with blanket stitch, so because of that practical reason, I believe whip stitch would be much easier. Remember I told you to use only 3 to 4 stitches when sewing all those spots? Now let me show you how it helps when sewing around the body. You can fold those spots just like this and continue the sewing smoothly. That way spots are still attached yet continue to keep their circular shape without changing. Another important thing in this project is you need to stuff as you go, especially when it comes to the tentacles. You'll need to think ahead and don't wait until you reach the final part. Otherwise, it makes it harder or even impossible to stuff at the end. Start with a small fiber fill at a time and you'll definitely need a thin rod to stuff the tentacles. This sewing project is a simple one. But I might need to warn you to stay calm when stuffing all these tentacles. I mean, after all, that's what handcraft is all about. It takes time and patience. I forgot to tell you that we also have tutorials on whip stitch and blanket stitch. So make sure to watch those in case you don't know how to do that. When you reach the starting point, make a knot to secure the stitch. Now we can't leave the thread hanging like this. So insert the needle in between the 2 layers and come through only 1 layer. Finally, pull the thread towards you and trim it. At this point, the octopus is ready and let's keep it aside for a minute to make its pirate hat. Take one of the felt pieces for the hat and place one of the feathers on top of that as a decoration piece. Next, place the other feather on top of the first one in an angled position so we can see both of them clearly. This is how I'm gonna place it and it's totally up to you. Now thread your needle and make a knot at the end. Coming from the back of the fabric, start to sew feathers to the hat using the back stitch along the midline like I do, or use a couple of straight stitches to just attach the feathers to the hat. 3 to 4 back stitches on the lower side would be enough and let the feathers hang free from the upper side. I think it looks nice that way. Once those are sewed to the hat, make a couple of knots at the back of the fabric and trim the thread. Now it's time to assemble the hat and place the decorated piece for the hat on top of the other hat piece. Make sure they are aligned with each other. Leaving the bottom margin unsewn, start to sew the rest of the margins together. Start in between the two layers to hide away the knot and use whip stitch or blanket stitch for this step. I hope you understand why we need to leave the bottom side of the hat unsewn. As our octopus is gonna wear this hat later, we need to leave that space for octopus head. Now if you are thinking why I choose a bluish color theme for this project, it's because octopus has blue blood, and even though we can't see that from the outside, I wanted to include that in. They are really interesting creatures and you'll be amazed after watching my octopus teacher. When you reach the other end of the bottom margin, make a knot to secure the stitch. If you think you'll need a more finished look, you can go ahead and sew these single layers using the whip stitch or blanket stitch as well. Just to keep things simple, I'm not going to do that now. After tying the knot, insert the needle in between the two layers and come through only one layer. Finally, trim the thread. With that done, the pirate hat is ready to use. As we left the bottom margin unsewn, now you can use that unsewn opening to use it on your octopus. This will be a very interactive felt piece, and let me know what you think of it. Please subscribe to my channel if you like this video and you want to see more. Thank you all for watching, and I'll join you in the next one.